Alright guys, Hector back again today. Hope you're all doing well and enjoying your day so far. A shock defeat last night for Los Angeles Thieves up against the Florida Mutineers of all teams, but also rumours circulating about certain individuals and teams not turning up on time to scrims. Which team are Thieves talking about and which team is Optic Scum talking about as well? Very much enjoyed your thoughts in the comment section below. Hitting today's content. If you guys got involved last year, even if you didn't, it's even better now. So this was Crone's pick from a couple of days ago. I believe he's actually had some decent success so far here. If you guys use Breaking Point, match your first deposit up to $100. This is what the website looks like if you guys aren't familiar. So you can combine your COD over and unders with all these other sports at the top of the screen here. But I'm just going to do COD today because what they've done now as well is it's not just map 1 to 3 that you pick from, but you can also pick from individual maps of the series. So yeah, Vegas tonight they play Rocker. Of course, we'll look at the matches in a few minutes time. I'm going to take TJ probably under. And then if we scroll down, we find that we actually see, okay, the Optic and the other guys, but also for individual maps here. So we can pick like certain players for each individual map. I'm going to say in game 2 of the Toronto versus Seattle series that Scrappy's going to go over. That's my prediction for the day. And I would be able to hit enter on this if I was in the US. If you guys want to get involved, link down below. They'll match your deposit up to $100. Let's dive in then. Crazy series, Thieves versus Florida Mutineers here. Like game 1, I was like, okay, fair enough. This pretty much went as expected. Close map, but Thieves come out on top regardless. 250, 189. Okay, fair enough. Now, honestly, going into this series, I was like, I don't know if I see Florida winning a single series this year against a good team that's not in game 5. Like, I think they can beat good teams in game 5, but the idea that they're going to beat a team in the respawn modes, like especially a solid team at that, not a Vegas or something, or Los Angeles Grizzlies, before the end of the season, even, okay, not before the end of the season, that's a pretty outrageous timeline, but I was like, how long is it going to take before this Florida team actually looks good enough to take respawns off top team? Because they look pretty shambolic the last few days. But, I mean, look, game 2, we know their search is good. They go up 5-1 here, Mutineers in the search. Brack goes down in this round to Envoy, but that was one of the only times Brack went down the entire series, to be honest. And then it's Florida that come back and win that. I mean, honestly, they almost choked it. It was 5-1 to Florida, went 6-5 to Florida in the end after it tied up round 11, which was just outrageous stuff. But then game 3, that was the key point to me. Florida won game 3 LSILO control, and there was one offense, it was 1-1, and they won an offense, and I was like, or whatever order it was, I was like, yeah, damn, that was impressive. There was one round that I was like, hang on a second here, Florida are actually cooking today. And Thieves just didn't quite seem there, and I do wonder with Thieves whether the M4 ban will affect them at all, or whether it has affected them, just because that's the key talking point of this week. Thieves looked pretty good last time out. Yes, they lost to FaZe last weekend, game 5, but yeah, today they come into this week, come out a bit flat, and yeah, with no M4 all of a sudden, not looking so good. Drazah's disgusting still with the Scar, there's no doubt, but they lose this hardpoint as well, pretty comfortably. 250 to about 190 in the end. This was all the Brack show in this final map of the series. I picked this guy in my fancy for good reason. 39 in 18 map 4, 1.26 overall series KD. Like, yeah, funny that they consider this guy a rookie when he was doing this back in the Black Ops 4 days as well, and has now finally earned his spot back in the league, and certainly understandably so, because he was going off on the main stage of this series. And yeah, what about that, right? Major Manic also has a great series as well, but 2 minutes hill time, 39 kills on map 4 for Brack. Just impressive stuff. And Mutineers take down the reigning world champions Thieves in a game 4, which is shocking to me. I thought that at least this is going to go game 5. So, you know, if Florida Mutineers even going to have a chance to win, I thought it would have to be a game 5. Not the case. Both the ARs turn up. The SMGs do their job, a 0.95. Pretty much perfect, what you want to see from your SMGs. And that's job done. So, yeah, wow. Crazy scenes. I do wonder with Thieves, though, like, is this going to be a Champs curse? Because every year, the Champs curse has affected teams. Like, there's never been an organization that has won 2 back-to-back Call of Duty World Championships. Players have done it, but on different teams. Thieves might do it this year, but is this going to be a Black Ops 3 Envy situation? If you guys remember, Black Ops 3 Envy won the World Championship, then Infinite Warfare came around and they were terrible for like 6 months, and finally with the same team they put it together again. I just do think there's a good chance, as I even said before the season began, that it's going to take a bit of time for Thieves to get into their gear again, especially with no M4 now. The meta is somewhat more unclear what Kenny needs to run, how the ARs and SMGs should combine, and yeah, it's a problem that they're going to have to solve. They solved it last year fantastically fantastically well, but it took them a long time to do so. Might be a similar story this year, but impressive in Florida. And man, the potential 2-2 tie breaks for going into the major and what groups we're going to see is absolutely ridiculous. And it's all going to be determined later on today. As Octane says, GG's lost 3-1, outplayed us plain and simple. Go again versus Optic tomorrow. That's one of the key points here, right? Because Octane and the Thieves guys are now 1-2, and they play Optic for their final series of the weekends. Like, yeah, it's definitely a spicy one, and obviously Draz are also not happy with the defeat as well. So yeah, Thieves versus Optic tonight. Massive series, I think, for both teams. Thieves to bounce back and go 2-2, and Optic to try and go 3-1, 4-0 with an asterisk, and prove that maybe they should be the favourites going into Major 1. Now, speaking of the Optic guys, last night, again, they did an interview with Scump after their series against London. They do this on the Optic, like, Nation, you know, paywall type thing. So, you know, basically, this was one of the brief clips here. This is the Moustache Scump in full force. But I do want to share two of the things he said, because they align it quite well with what Thieves talked about the other day as well. I won't share the video, because as I say, it's behind a paywall, but this is what he talks about. So, the first thing he talks about is not getting a warm-up scrim. He reckons that's why they came out a little bit slow game 1. They weren't so hot in the hard points yesterday, Optic. And he says basically they got let down by a team. He didn't want to say which team, but there's a certain team that were meant to warm them up, because the way the pros do it, before they play their series, they get a team on to just, you know, scrim them in hard points, warm them up a bit for their games. Kind of like, you know, a nice courtesy thing the teams do for the other teams, but it's also good practice for those squads as well. So it makes good sense to warm up Optic or any other team before they play their game. Now, for whatever reason, in this particular situation, the team that was meant to do it didn't turn up, let them down, and yeah, Scump didn't expose the specific team, but it must be said that there are certain teams on the radar that maybe aren't always on time right now, and even the Thieves will indicate that too in a second. That's why they came out slow, but he's happy they proved they could be a dynamic team and win in the 2-3-5 if necessary, as they did in this series. He also talked about the meta changes and being slightly concerned going into this series, just because his role changed the most. He was basically the third AR when the M4 was there. Now he's running either the TAC, the SCAR, or the Vaznev about 50-50, so he was a bit worried, but yeah, came in, delivered the goods, obviously, with a phenomenal series at 1.27. But this first part is quite interesting, just because it aligns a bit also with what Draza said the other day, that some players, they're not really committed, not really turning up all that much. And as Nisa Zombie King points out to me here, there was a quick video that Thieves did the other day, where I'll share a brief clip from this, where they talk about, I think they were meant to be warming up Seattle before their series they played, and of course they were getting ready to do their part of the bargain in the warm-up scrim, and then Seattle were late, Pred was late, the team didn't turn up on time, and the guys are like, this is you know, not the first time this has happened.
Not eating?
Not eating?
I had bag of sun chip. That's about it though.
Oh, that's good. What flavor,
water.
man? That's some, oh, it doesn't look like water.
Yeah, that's water. It looks pretty clear to me.
Where the f is Pred, bro? If you're late, you're on warm up. I might have just started chalking these boys up, bro. If you're late, I'm not playing you, bro. Because how you late to your warm up? Do you want to warm up or not? It's like the third or fourth time, bro. These guys always late.
There are a lot of teams in the league that are late, and they ain't one of them.
God, 1:30?
Yeah, 130 is nuts. Right now, no cap.
Okay, bro.
Like, he's shutting his doors. That's actually nuts. And he's about to jump up. No one's watching it. Like, this guy's actually in his happy place right now.
So do you guys think it's just Seattle Surge and Pred and players on that team turning up late to scrims, or do you think it's other ones? Just because, look, Scump didn't want to expose the individual team, but nonetheless, it's interesting that either some teams aren't committed or still turning up late, and yeah, I don't really know how that's even possible anymore, especially because obviously it's behind the scenes and we won't really necessarily hear about these dramas until it might occur at the major, but all these like behind the scenes things add up into what could happen at major events, right? Let's say Optic match up against the team that's kind of snaked on them and didn't warm them up for their scrim on LAN, then there's already a little more heat that goes into that series already, even if we don't know it from the outside. Couple of quick comments here on the Hydro map, of course, we saw it yesterday. I know that people have been asking for them to do a winter version where all the water is frozen over, but yeah, obviously the map is pretty interesting to say the least, and the water lanes, like if you're not swimming, you're not winning, as Hacky likes to say, and even Accuracy did mention, what if we kind of GA, like what about the mid tunnels where you can go? What if they decide, you know what, let's not even do that and let's kind of ban it between the pros and say, you know what, we're not gonna swim there basically. So there's just so many lanes, it's ridiculous to watch at times. So yeah, maybe Slasher can get the job done here to actually get this banned. I don't know if that'll be the case or not, but you know, even as Saint says here, what Parasite said the other day, and Kenny responded after losing the series to Florida, or maybe this was before that series during the New York versus Boston one. Well, Reese just swam to flip out his team out of the PG spawn, so I don't know. Too much swimming, not enough winning. So yeah, depends depends on the situation, which is the correct quote to go with, but a pretty good one from Parasite. Couple of quick notes on Vegas as well. Of course, they lost again last night, demolished by FaZe. Now, this is actually the longest winning streak, I believe, now in the CDL, just because Ultra snapped their loss streak. They were 10 in a row against FaZe, so they're now on a 1-win streak against FaZe. So the longest win streak, I believe, of any team against any other team is now up to 8 after the victory from FaZe last night. So, I mean, yeah, here we go. This top one is now broken. FaZe versus Legion is now up to 8, and we'll see if any of these other ones can extend it further this season. It's kind of crazy, really, that Legion are on a 7-loss streak against, well, a 15-loss streak combined between Optic and FaZe over the last couple of seasons, I suppose. And also this, if it actually wants to load on the flank last night, when, well, Ben Genesee and Aches have a bit of a bet going on, where if Vegas Legion win Major 1, Ben has to get his head shaved live on the flank, and if they don't, then Aches is going to pay him $100. So probably a good bet for Ben, to be fair, because the chances of that are rather low indeed. Let's talk about the matches today then. So Thieves Optic, certainly the pick of the bunch, especially the way the games have gone the last few days makes this even better than normal, because it's a fight for 2-2 for Thieves, and it's a fight to be one of the very top seeds for Optic, because, like, yeah, no one apart from maybe Rocker can go 4-0. Pretty sure Rocker can technically go 4-0 if they beat Legion tonight, and Legion would be 0-4 in that case. Then Surge versus Ultra. I've probably got to take Ultra here, just because the search and destroy of Surge hasn't really impressed me as I did in the prize picks thing. I'm going to take Scrappy to go over 7 kills in the game 2 search and destroy. Then Optic versus Thieves. Man, like, if this doesn't go game 5, I'll be disappointed. I feel like it should. I feel like it will. And if it does go game 5, I think I should take Optic to win. So I think I'm going to take Optic 3-2. Really marginal series though, like, so tough to call, and it's going to be a great one. And then Breach Gorillas. I think Breach need a bounce back really to go 3-1 in the end. But if Gorillas win this, they'll go 2-2. Breach will be 2-2 as well. If Thieves win against Optic, both those teams will be 2-2. Like, I think that if Surge beat Ultra, then both those teams might be 2-2. So it's absolutely crazy what this could potentially mean for the Major, because if there's, I think even Ben Genesee mentioned at the end of last night's flank, that you could potentially have 10 teams in and around that number that are 2-2. Might not happen, but if it does, then separating those teams by tiebreakers is just really tough to do anyway, but it doesn't really matter so much. But what it really means is it's almost randomized what teams are going to go into what pools, because usually you've got a pretty clear-cut top seeds, bottom seeds, but with only 4 matches played, it's even more difficult to differentiate between the 2-2 teams when you're going to put them into pools for Major 1. And like, we're going to get some crazy pools announced, I'm sure, tonight after these matches conclude, especially if the 2-2 kind of tiebreakers actually work as they theoretically could. But if Thieves were to go 1-3, then all of a sudden they're one of the bottom seeds. FaZe are only at 2-2 themselves. So yeah, really interesting stuff. Very much enjoyed your thoughts in the comment section below. Hit the like button if you enjoyed. Subscribe if you were new as always. Take care, and I'll see you next time.